Hi guys, this is Cindy and Bella from Part-Time Permies. And yes, I know, I'm wearing a mosquito net over us. The mosquitoes decided to swarm this week and the dragonflies haven't caught up yet. So this is our temporary mosquito protection. But today I wanted to give you a little tour of what we're doing in our garden. It's the beginning of June. We always feel like we're running behind here on planting because, well, we both work full-time. And we have a huge garden. So what I wanted to do is just show you what we've done so far, what we have in the ground, what our plans are a little bit on continuing this expansion. We're gonna get some more stuff in the ground hopefully today, which is Sunday. Maybe one more weekend of planting out, and then we'll start our next rotation of crops. We can actually start to harvest some things in our garden right now as well. So I'll give you a little rundown on that as well. May 11th we had our last snow, so we definitely had a hard freeze that weekend before. The snow happened when it was just slightly cold, and it didn't really stay around. But within a couple weeks we were almost 90 degrees. Almost everything we put in the ground, we started in our greenhouse. Not quite, I'll show you what we have going. Okay, so we'll start with this section over here. What we're doing over here is we're doing a lot of brassica planting. Cauliflower and broccoli rabe, some Napa cabbage. One new thing we're doing this year is we are mulching our paths to try to cut down some of the weeds in between. What you see in the background here, that is a layer of cardboard and then basically a layer of winter chicken run material that I'm spreading on that. That'll break down over the year. So we're not planting directly into that, but next year we do slightly adjust where our paths are. So next year we might be planting into those areas. And what we have found is the places where we've put our chicken compost in the past has become quite fertile. So it does cut down the weeds in the first year, but it'll be very fertile soil for next year. So you can see this trellis over here. That is where I have some pea plants growing, so they're going to grow up the sides. We'll see how tall it gets. All my trellises in previous years have only been about 4 feet tall, and the pea plants have folded over on themselves and were really about twice that tall. So we are doing the cattle panel trellis here for pea plants this year and see how that goes. I do have a bed that's really full of well, wild spinach, which is lamb's quarters. So I did start a bunch of things from seeds, and I was worried about taking the small lamb's quarters out while the seedlings were really just starting to emerge. So the lamb's quarter is ahead of them. I gotta harvest the lamb's quarter. You can eat that. That is a great salad green. So I'm gonna consider that an extra harvest that nature gave us. Pull that lamb's quarter out and hopefully give some room for those seeds to grow a little further. The next bed back, we tried starting some cabbage by seed in that bed and put some herbs in there as well. The only cabbage I see growing right now is actually one we started from a core of a grocery store cabbage. We just put it in the ground and let it grow, and it's actually getting pretty big already. I'm gonna have to check to see if there's any seedlings on the ones we actually planted from seed, but I did start some cabbage in the greenhouse as well, so I'll show you that bed. Okay, so this bed behind me has 3 types of cabbage growing in it that are doing really well. This ground before it was such dark soil that I think will be doing really well. This is where we spread a lot of the chicken manure the year before, so I have good hopes for that. Our soil otherwise is beach sand. By the way, when we prep our beds, our preparation technique is with broad forking. So we tend to broad fork the area, and then one direction. If it needs it a second direction, because we have weeds and grasses established already, we'll do it the second direction. And then I rake it to get all those extra plant material, make sure they're not gonna take root in that area, and then plant it out right away. Okay, so our strawberries in this raised bed over here, they were doing pretty well, but we still have our strawberry plants in there, and they're actually just starting to fruit. So we're gonna have to harvest those. Okay, and back on the other side of this bed, we do have milkweed starting, which I've been taking some milkweed seeds from some plants that are around the area. We don't have as much on our property, but along the roadside and such, when they go to seed, I've been taking those and scattering them along this fence line every fall. And this is, I think, the first year that we're actually getting some milkweed plants here. So that's good to see. I'd like to expand that, so we're not touching that. We're actually letting the perimeter of this section go wild because we'd like some wild plants. We get a lot of good wildflowers around here. We also have some bergamot, which is technically your Medarda fistulosa plants growing. Those are also spread from some wild seeds. And we do have one transplanted wild blueberry bush, because we have some blueberries that grow back in our woods, but they're in such deep shade that they don't really flower and produce berries so much. But we took a couple, I think we took 3 from back there and transplanted them along the edge here. One of them took, and it's actually doing a lot better this year. So it's still very small, but that hopefully will take off over the next couple years and keep growing like that. Okay, so behind me over here, you can see some asparagus long shoots shooting up. We did not harvest asparagus this year. It is actually the 3rd year of our asparagus. We started getting some shoots up before our hard frost in early mid-May. So those died back, but we do have more shoots this year, and they seem to be in flower now. So those are doing well. What we're going to do here is take some of this chicken compost, spread it in between the rows a little bit, in between the plants, and again try to suppress some of the weeds there, and fertilize those, so maybe next year they're going to have a little more growth. Okay, so this section back here was one of the first beds we planted this spring. Initially planted with, and obviously have not kept up with weeding, but initially planted with 2 rows of combined carrots and radishes. Reason for that is radishes will tell you, they grow a lot faster, germinate a lot faster. They'll tell you where the row is. And then as the carrots eventually germinate, they're taking care of suppressing some of the weeds in those rows. It's now time to harvest a lot of those radishes, so we'll need to do that. I also put some kale starts in there, and those are definitely ready to harvest. Once we got past our cold weather, we did get 2 tomato plants in there. One of them was a Roma tomato that I bought at the farmer's market that was already fairly big, and it's now got flowers on it. So it's a little ahead of my tomatoes they started in the greenhouse. But I also have an Amish paste tomato plant that I started in the greenhouse that's a lot smaller in there. So 2 tomato plants there, smaller bed, and then we'll have radishes and carrots. Once I pull the radishes and the kale out, I might spread some aromatic herbs in there. So some basil, some cilantro, and that sort of thing around them. Okay, so I'm leaning forwards because Bella fell asleep on my back. It's not the best place for her to sleep. I'll wrap this up here real quick. Also, lawnmower is coming back. So 2 beds here, tomatoes. We're gonna do a few more of tomato plants here that are gonna go in the ground today. We'll put some peppers in as well. Maybe mix them with the tomatoes or go in the next bed over. And then here we have soil that's been turned just recently, brought forth the first time. We will be doing some squash, beans, and that sort of thing. So that really needs to start from seed out here. Cucumbers that, 3 sisters, although we might not do corn in here, we might do some sunflowers. So that's coming up between this weekend and next weekend, and hopefully by then we will be done, and all we'll have to do is mulch our paths. So that'll be the last bit we could do after we get all the plants in. And back here we do have potatoes from last year that we never harvested. They're back up, so we'll harvest them this year. We have some buckwheat and some hulless oats we might put in here as well, just to hold, and then we'll plant some fall crops back here later. Sorry about the lawnmowers closer again, but we'll wrap up here. And then on the hugel bed, we're gonna put our eggplant and okra, maybe some more herbs and such. We have some perennials on there already, so we can keep adding to the perennials on the hugel bed. But that's about it. Hope you enjoyed the show, that quick garden tour with a little background mowing, but still in the works. So we will come back in another month and show you how things have fared.